4th down and goal from the 9. Carr throws into traffic. Intercepted. The Bengals have the ball. They are running it back. Sam Hubbard.
Stanford Jennings is going to go all the way. When it comes down, the Bengals are champions.
Now the Bengals Super Bowl chances rest on his right foot. The kick is up. It is good.
Today, Bengal fans, here we gather, talking football back for year 5. We're covering all things Houday Nation. We're glad you joined us here tonight. Special guests, past and present players. You never know who you might see. One thing that's for sure, it's all things Bengals. And it all goes back to charity. We at Talking Football want to thank you for joining us for the show tonight. By the fans, for the fans, until the very end. It's Talking Football with Bengal Jim and friends. It's Talking Football with Bengal Jim and friends.
How about those Cowboys? Bengals go down to Dallas this week in front of, 40% of that stadium had to be Bengal fans. I just got home a few hours ago. I know a lot of you guys watch it right now. Rock and Bengal, I know, was down there as well. He probably just got home. Brandon got home a few hours ago. Tony and everybody else. What a fun weekend in Dallas. And guys, it felt wonderful to walk out of a stadium with a dub. So it was a great game.
We see Mark still in Dallas. Brandon said he had a babysit you. We'll talk about that off air.
Please make sure that's off air, please.
And what else? What else? Lack of tweets and Facebook posts were because Jimmy's phone was dead. First time ever in his whole career he didn't have a backup charger with him.
My fingers are twitching. I was going through withdrawal on my phone. So
he was just texting to nobody just because he was shaking so bad because he couldn't do anything.
Okay, real quick before we get any further. So we got a lot of stuff to hit on. We got Paul Dehner Jr. from The Athletic coming on here at 8:30. If you follow Paul on The Athletic or any social media platform, this guy's top notch, man. It'd be a lot of fun, Tom.
Oh, Paul's the best. He's always on top of things, knows the insides and outsides of the locker room. Perfect guest to have, whether we're feeling better about a late season charge and or looking forward to next year.
One thing to keep in mind, we are having problems with the main Facebook page. So if you're watching, if you can share it on your Facebook page or social media channel. I don't know what happened. Joys of meta and technology. We had Jamie on a little bit earlier trying to get that fixed. So if you're watching, can share. We still have that podcast page, which you can share from there. But if you could do that, we would appreciate that. Look at Augie. When's the last time Augie's been on?
It's been a while.
Man, he's still alive all the way in the Empire State. God bless you. Craig was in Tampa. Who let? Oh, no, didn't take long for the first comment. But
there's going to be many more comments about James Stash there, I'm sure, before the show's over tonight. So let's just dive into a bunch of stuff here, guys. We have a lot of stuff to hit on. The first thing I guess we hit on. Let's just do this. I'm going to play this video. This is I want you guys to type in Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, wherever you're watching. I'm going to play a very short video clip, and you tell me the significance of this video clip right here.
Landry of the Cowboys. No score in the first quarter. James Brooks runs a sweep on the right side. Great block from Rodney Holman, number 82. And then number 78, Anthony Munoz. He is gone. 51 yards. He would rush for 148 yards in the day. 7-0 for the Bengals. In the second quarter, Boomer Esiason on the play action. Dumps it off to Rodney Holman. And then Michael Downs is along for the ride into the end zone. Key numbers to look at. 15 seconds left in the half. It's Rodney Holman once again for the score. At 24-3, the Bengals lead it at the half. The Bengals take over from there, and Esiason connects with James Brooks. On the play action, wide open, takes it in for a second touchdown of the day, 31-10.
All right. In your chat area, James, I'm not in the chat right now, but what's the significance of that game versus the Dallas Cowboys in 1988? Tom, I know we know about it. James, I know we've talked about it earlier, but Anybody in there gets that right, go ahead and pop it up, James.
Yeah, there's a bunch. Augie's got the right year. Let's see.
Right here.
Paul has, I think Paul was the first one to.
That's not technically correct. We'll keep going. We'll keep going here.
Let's see. Last time.
Well, Augie got it. Oh, Tom, that's right.
Man, you outlawed Paul's post by a nuance. Jeez. Paul had.
You were so close, Paul. You were so close.
Hater. I even called hater. Goodness, see? Goodness.
1988 time was the last time we went down to Dallas and beat the Dallas Cowboys in Dallas, and that was a butt whooping 34-24. It wasn't even that close of a game, but it's been a long time since we've won down to Dallas, Tom.
Well, a lot of that had to do because the Cowboys were so good, but we've got them up here a few times. But the Cowboys were always deep, and there was a odd period of time where the Bengals and the Cowboys didn't play. The NFL did the schedules so odd in the 70s and early 80s. Roger Staubach never played in all his years in the NFL. Roger Staubach never played in his hometown. He never played in Riverfront Stadium. 10 years in the league, and the Cowboys never came here.
Yeah.
So
crazy. The attendance that day at the stadium that day in 1988 in Dallas was only 34,000 fans in the stands that day. So crazy look back into history there. Also today, December 10th, 1989, this is also another prominent day in Cincinnati football history, guys.
Next person that sees anybody throw anything onto this field, point them out, and get them out of here. You don't live in Cleveland, you live in Cincinnati.
December 10th, 1989, Tom.
A day that will live in infamy for our friends in Northeast Ohio. There was snow and ice being heaved onto the field, and despite the fact some of the Bengal players, giving the hands down to put it down, Sam had seen enough from the few that were doing it and took charge of the situation. It might be, at this point, other than that incredible offense and turning the team around and getting him to the 88 Super Bowl, probably what he's best known for.
Yep.
The one thing to keep in mind, kind of make a stat to make us all feel old, 1988, what Joe Burrow was born. We know this is kind of a segue to the next thing, but 20 years, what is it, 10 years, at least 10 years later. How many years later was Joe Burrow born?
Joe Burrow turns 27 today. There's our guy, Joe Burrow, and our tailgate buddy, Big Burrow there. Craig's good friend that hangs out and drinks beers and smokes cigars with him all the time. But what year was Joe born? If he's 27 years old today, I can't. That would be what?
Hold on, 96. So he was born, 8 years after our last win in Dallas.
So Joe Burrow's birthday today, and he learned today while he was at the game last night that James, his house got robbed. It's just unbelievable.
It's sad, scary, I think all in the same breath. But if you remember, what was it, probably a month or so ago when Mahomes and Travis Kelce house got broken into. And much to the credit of the NFL, whenever there's issues like that, stuff that we don't see as fans are issued amongst players for their protection, saying, hey, keep guard, be vigilant, things like that. And I think much to Joe's credit, he did have security there at the house last night, but still happened. Somebody else in the house. We won't go into the particulars on that. You can go do your own Googling for that. But obviously, unlike us, it's pretty easy to know where Joe Burrow was Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern and not home. So hopefully they'll catch the perpetrators. And, they didn't mention what, if anything, was stolen there. So hopefully broken glass and not much of that, but just anybody that's been robbed or house been broken into, just a sense of uneasiness, uncertainty that you deal with that. So hopefully it's all well, everyone's safe, no one got hurt. And, again, just another, in this crazy world we live in, just a chance to stay vigilant and be careful out there.
Yeah, just crazy news. We got that news earlier today. So let's go into what do we want to hit here first? Let's go ahead and hit let's talk about these guys right here. So if you're on social media or watch any news, there are rumors kind of flying about here, guys, that obviously nobody that's watching this right now has any doubt that they will sign Jamar Chase in the offseason here. But there's some pretty good rumors going around that they're going to make a serious attempt to re-sign T. Higgins. And you even heard some of his other teammates, including Joe Burrow, kind of make that mention as well. So I'm not a cap guy. I don't know how all this works. I know a certain percentage, 30, 40% is going to go to the top 3 or 4 players of that. But if the Bengals really want to make this happen, they can do it. Tom, what's your thoughts on that?
Let's see. If they really want T and they can't get it done, there was also a report this weekend that the New England Patriots can't wait for him to get on the market, and they are going to, make him one of the highest paid elite receivers in football. The Bengals really don't want him to go. Negotiate hard, negotiate high, and then don't let him get on the market. Tag him again, but tell him, this is genuine. This is not to trap you here. This is to sign and keep you here. But hopefully they can get something done before then. I think a lot of that will depend on T. It's so dangerous when guys get to this point and they're about to go on the market. A lot of times they want to hit the market and see what they can get. But we've got Joe under contract. Jamar Chase is going to be the highest paid receiver in the history of the sport, and he's going to be that because he deserves it. And another guy that I have a sneaking suspicion, and it's kind of one of those things we heard from a number of people, but Trey Hendrickson last year, when I think the world was floored when he wanted a new deal, that maybe part of that was Bengal Brain Trust going to him and saying, okay, you just signed an extension. We've already got you locked in on our salary cap for this year. I'll tell you what, go out again this year, kick butt, and come back and talk to us. Well, Trey's shown he's one of the elite linemen in football. He deserves to be paid as one. I don't think he's going to slow down by any measure in the next couple of years. So, hopefully he can get taken care of and we can fix the offense and rebuild the defense. I know something we're going to talk to Paul about.
Yep. Let's keep going here, guys. Let's talk about
hold on that thought 1 second, T. In the comments here, let's get your feedback. I think from wearing their heart on the sleeve perspective, I think the fans would love to see T back. Obviously, he's been nothing but a professional here when he's healthy, which obviously is the knock that he's played less than a quarter of the games he's missed annually. But put there in the chat whether you would re-sign him or let him walk. Our buddy Craig here, trade T and pay for D. That could be a T-shirt.
That's a hash. That's going to be a hashtag. It's a hashtag.
Cincy Shirts is probably making that right now as we speak. But along those lines, whether it's D, obviously, which we know is our big weakness, or taking that money and investing in the O-line to protect Joe. That is a lot of thoughts from the fan base out there. But just put in the chat. You can simply put re-sign or let walk, and we'll see what everybody wants to do. So go ahead and move on to your next subject, and we'll post those up here as we keep moving.
Yeah. Let's go and hit. Let's go. Last Friday before we left for Dallas, we did the toys, our annual. This is our 3rd or 4th Toys for Tots drive, and guys, what an amazing turnout! There was money that had been raised. There's been money that's been donated. Went in Tony, myself, Carrie, Trish. We had Lisa and Mark and Brian from Batesville. We had tons of folks meet us at the Walmart in Eastgate and at the Bengals Pro Shop. But guys, I think Tony said the accurate number. I think we bought 700 toys, and there was over 100 more toys donated by fans just showing up and getting to one of those locations, just throwing toys on the bus. So it was an amazing amount of toys. Where Tony will be giving another update on that, but we still have the QR code that we can post again for everybody to see. We might have it right now. I don't know what it would be if I have it in here, but if you're able to, definitely you can still do the Amazon Toys for Tots, as those will be shipped right to Tony and Carrie's house, and he'll add those to the toys for this year. So it is interesting. We had the representative from Toys for Tots. Tony had them show up at both locations. And they're saying toys are down all across the country for Toys for Tots. I guess the economy, cost of, putting food on the table and other stuff has kind of affected us across the board. So anything you can do to help with these Toys for Tots, make sure that these kids have a fun, enjoyable Christmas. We'll make that happen. So you can click that QR code and have some toys actually shipped directly to Tony. And we're going to make sure it gets to Toys for Tots. We'll be posting updates and pictures of that as well. Guys, it was fun that Friday night. It really was cold as hell, but it was a lot of fun. These fans came out, bought toys, throw them on the bus, and they were excited and happy to do it.
I know. I was in the pro shop Saturday. There was nothing left. Jimmy, Tony, and the crew came in and purchased everything for the less fortunate. So great job,
cleaned them out
and girls, and obviously that's all because of you. But let's not forget two more home games, 22nd and either the 28th or 29th, and we'll be collecting toys there. So if you're coming to one of the final two home games, bring an unwrapped toy to one of those. And while they may not be used this year, they'll be put aside for next year's Toys for Tots.
Yeah, good reminder. Thanks for that reminder, James. Couple other quick things. Just the total, I think we're probably over 139,000. This is from last week. And I think we had some funds come in to go towards this. But again, year-to-date funds raised for local charities here, almost just call it 140 grand, guys. And again, that's because of this platform you guys participate in and help make happen. It's an amazing situation, whether it be social media, the tailgate, or the YouTube show. It's really fun for everybody to participate in that number. That's an amazing number again, James.
100%. Yeah, definitely over 140,000. For anybody that's going to Nashville, this will kind of be a perfect segue to that. We'll have a couple different charities represented. One that was there last September, we were down there, that does stuff for military veterans. They'll help do the entry gates for that. And Tony will share with us. We'll put it on social media, the other beneficiaries for Nashville this Sunday. So, Jimmy, go ahead, and I'm going to put the link in the chat. If you don't have your tailgate tickets yet for the game Sunday, I'm going to put that in the chat. And, Jimmy, go ahead and talk about it.
Yeah, guys, I tell you what, this is getting more and more excited as the last couple days in Dallas, and especially after the win, the tickets sales picked up significantly. So we're going to have another great crowd. The weather looks good. The temperature looks good. We're kind of looking at that rain. We'll wait later in the week here. But the weather looks pretty good in Nashville. So a couple quick things. Big Burrow's on his way. If you remember last time in Nashville, he was making his way down Broadway. Big Burrow will be there. We got a very special performance. The Bengal Boys will be doing a whole set. I don't know how many songs is in a set, like 4 to 6 songs. And our buddy James on the screen here has helped write a song that will be debuted that day.
Is that I just sent him a script. I don't know if that's going to be my first. Hey, if they take the script, I might just stay in Nashville, become a songwriter, just write country songs for the rest of my career. So
if you're going to do that, would you please tell Mike Reed to answer our request to be a guest?
Tom, that is the fans' Christmas present for you to get Mike Reed on to sing and talk about his playing days in Cincinnati.
One of my last great players that I so desperately want on, but Mike is a busy man.
As if anybody's watching right now, we have a lot of connections between everybody on the screen here, but man, we could use your connections. If you're able to make that happen, or at least connect us for us to talk to Mike Reed, that would be a lot of fun. We've had a lot of living legends on this show, and it would be really awesome to have Mike Reed as well. But going back to the tailgate, guys, Grader's Ice Cream is driving their ice cream truck down there. We're going to have enough ice cream for about 500 people, free ice cream. DJ Trump's going to be spinning on the ones and twos. Cincinnati Music Accelerator, Kick and his crew will be down there. The Bengal Boys, like I just said, will be doing an entire set on stage. We're going to have all kinds of other stuff here. So let's talk about a little bit of clarity. The ticket prices include what, James? Includes everything. Your entry to the tailgate, your drinks, your pops, your waters, your beers. That includes all that. We will have a food truck or two there for you guys to buy food. That is not included in it. But if you need to park, that price does not include your parking. Now, there is a lot that butts up against to where we're tailgating. It's all going to be fenced in where we're at. So if you're able to get there early enough, James, they'll be able to buy parking there, correct?
Yeah, 100%. So if you haven't been to Nashville in the last year or two, it seems like we've gone every year for the last 3 or 4 years, but a lot of construction, as many of you know, they're building that new stadium there. So parking is at a premium around the stadium. If you joined us last year, we're literally east of the stadium, right along the river. This tailgate's unique where we actually have indoor restrooms. I know a lot of the ladies appreciate that, but you can just pull up, say, hey, I'm here for the Bengal Gym tailgate, pay and purchase right near the tailgate area, which is around back behind the building. With that said, there will be shuttle. If you were there last year, we did have a shuttle to take people. If you want to walk, it's a simple 10-minute walk, but there will be shuttles taking folks to the stadium. Maybe if you have an elderly person or somebody that needs a little assistance, there will be a shuttle taking you to the stadium as well. But again, if it's your first time, it's a little tight because of the stadium construction. If you remember 2 years ago, we had a truck stop on the other side of the stadium. That truck stop's not there, making way for the new stadium now. So things are a lot different, a lot happening there. But get your ticket to the tailgate. Let them know you're coming around back to where we're going to be, same exact spot as last year, and you can pay to park right in that nice paved lot. So
James will be sharing that link in the chat area. Make sure you grab them, guys. Just for clarity, guys. There's huge expense to this. We have to rent out the entire lot. There's a bunch of expense for this. So we're really just trying to break even through this thing. We are a 501c3. So we're not making a dime off of this. So just to let you know, we're going to have another really good crowd down in Nashville. And if it's anything like it was last year, man, it's going to be a lot of fun down there. You go down to Nashville, if it's a Bengal game or not, you're having fun. If you've been on Broadway before, you know what I'm talking about. So
100%. There's somebody's asking for the address. I'm actually pulling that up right now. Yep, 404 Davidson Street, Nashville. I'm going to copy that and put that in the chat. It's literally due east of the stadium. It's a huge building. There's a CrossFit gym in the building. There's a indoor karting. I think they had something else like a paintball thing or something. It's just a huge building, and we're in the area out back there. But walking distance, and again, if you don't want to walk, shuttles, there is plumbing. We will have all the beverages you can drink, both alcoholic and not, and there will be a barbecue food truck there if you'd like to purchase food that morning. And just the one thing, keep in mind, don't go on too much of a bender Friday or Saturday night on Broadway. It is a noon kickoff. Obviously, they're an hour behind in Nashville to what we are here. So it'll be a noon kickoff. Tailgate will open at 8 a.m. We also, another question we're often asked is if somebody wants to bring their own drink, their drink of choice, you're more than welcome to bring that as well. If you want to bring your own food, you can do that as well. We try to make it as easy for you as we can as fans. Another question, is it all ages? 100% family friendly. So whether you got a little one or an older one, come all, and 100% family friendly for sure.
We will later this week, we'll announce some of the former players and their families that will be in attendance. I forgot to kind of firm those up, but we're going to have a pretty good handful of former players in attendance as well, their families. And don't forget, Tony keeps reminding me when we post this, Saturday, if anybody's ever been to SantaCon here in Cincinnati, it is a absolute fun time downtown Cincinnati. Everybody's dressed up as Santa Claus or Mrs. Santa or the Grinch. You're going to see probably thousands and thousands of people in downtown Nashville on Broadway dressed up as Santa Claus. So if you get down there this weekend, don't forget that SantaCon is this Saturday as well. So go out and do some day drinking in your Santa Claus outfit and join us early Sunday morning at the tailgate.
Is the rumor true that Beerfest Craig is going to be in an elf suit for SantaCon?
He showed me his outfit, James, and I don't know if it's appropriate for him to wear that, but we'll see. We'll see if he does.
All right. Well, he's been very vocal in the chat, busting on my mustache tonight. So we'll see.
Yeah, I've already got 2 text messages. My buddy Scott from North Carolina. I had to look this up. Scott says, "Is James trying to is James auditioning for a role in a remake of Wild Earp? I'm not sure who Wild Earp is. I think it's a country guy, like with a big mustache. So I'm getting all kinds of texts about James' mustache. So
you ever see Happy Gilmore? Did you ever see Happy Gilmore?
Yeah,
remember
it's about a hockey
the character
player.
Ben Stiller played? Let's just leave it there.
I need a cowboy hat. Somebody needs to bring me a cowboy hat. If you remember last year, I got that orange one. I think Trish ended up wearing the whole tailgate and into the game. I need a black cowboy hat. That's on my.
Here you go. James Black Boots, Spurs, a cowboy hat, and that stash, man. He's ready to go. One thing I forgot to hit on, guys, is the Sunday nights at the Hop and Sting Brewery in Dallas. If you remember a few years ago, we were there, local brewery owners. One of the owners is a big Bengals fan. Guys, we packed that place out. We talked to the brewery earlier today, just kind of get what they thought. It was over 500 Bengal fans showed up. There was people coming and going pretty much from 4 to 8 o'clock. There were actually fans there by 2:30, 3 o'clock that were there trying to save tables. The food truck was already going at. They ran out of food like an hour and a half in. They had a ton of food. We went through all that. So I got the numbers today. They did over 14 kegs. That's a lot of beer and 113 six packs of the QB9 quarterback beer that the orange and black stripe beers that they sold. So it was a fun night. The lines were long. We appreciate your patience. There's no amount of workers or employees that they could have put behind the bar to keep up with that crowd. We overwhelmed them, but everybody was awesome, had a great time. Nobody was complaining, and it was just a really fun time. I want to thank Brian and his staff at Hop and Sting. Really worked their butts off to accommodate all the Bengal fans down there. So, Brian, we appreciate you and your staff. You guys killed it. And I know a lot of people that drove down, believe it or not, had several cases of your beer or six packs in the back of their car they're taking home. Probably not to put in the fridge. They're probably putting that in their Bengal collection is what they're probably doing. So, Brian, we thank you again, man. It means a lot.
Hey, Jimmy, you being down there, and you've got a good hand on this. Both of you guys have been, I've been to some away stadiums. You guys have been to just about all of them in the NFL. But when T. Higgins caught a ball last night, it was really loud with the T's. What was the percentage of Bengals fans down there? I mean, it is not an easy place to get a ticket for.
It's funny. Look, we were sitting next to some Dallas fans. It was mostly Bengal fans by us. We were thinking 40% of that stadium was Bengal fans. I'm telling you, I was shocked throughout the week, Saturday, Sunday, and going into the morning on Monday morning. All the orange and black you saw around Fort Worth, wherever you were, I'd say 40%. I was, to be honest, I knew there'd be a lot of Bengal fans, but I thought with the record and everything that's kind of gone bad this year, I thought there'd be people backing out of that trip, and there probably was. But it was an amazing amount of Bengal fans, and I don't care what anybody says. We've been to so many away games over a long period of time. The Bengal fans travel, man. They show up and show out every single away game, win or lose, and I love seeing it. It's fun.
Here's Augie from New York. I agree 100% before we talk about Augie's second point here. I think LA was loud, packed, and I think that's one thing we hear a lot when we go to the whatever visitor stadium that we're at is just the sheer volume of Bengals fans. So certainly travel well. But for those of you that weren't in Dallas, what's your thoughts on the Simpson cast? I was trying to watch it. It was a little bit lagging behind. Tom was already telling me that T. Higgins should have came back from the ball, and I think they were on the second down play. So I was like, I can't watch this anymore. I'm going to be behind text all night. But what was your thoughts if you were watching from home on the Simpsons broadcast? Obviously, NFL smart, trying to get a younger audience. I don't know if the Simpsons actually cater to a younger demographic per se, but kudos for doing something outside the box and trying to get younger people involved and watching the sport of football.
So Jay, it's funny. I've only been home for about 2.5 hours, and I came home real quick, grabbed some Skyline because I've been gone for more than 2 days. Needed my Skyline, and I sat and watched bits and parts of the Simpsons broadcast of the game. So it was fun. I'm a big Simpsons guy, so I thought it was fun. They did a pretty good job with it. It was something unique. That's for sure. For
sure. The one thing I liked, there's a lot of clips shared today on the various social media channels, was the actual play and then the Simpson broadcast underneath it. But kudos, thinking outside the box to, again, just get a different perspective. I believe it was also streamed on the Disney app. So maybe somebody that wasn't normally going to watch an NFL game was doing that. And, hey, we won, and Team Bart. Now I just need a T-shirt.
All right, let's get it going here. Paul is in the waiting room right now. So we appreciate Paul being with us. I know he's got a lot of family stuff going on, so he's really going out of his way to make some time for you guys tonight. So it feels good to have a guest on after a W, Tom. So do our introduction to our buddy Paul.
Well, we keep winning. We may just have to have him back every week. But he is a good family man first and foremost. But he has covered the Bengals and sort of from more outside media, has been all over in print and online, but is one of the most respected Bengals writers in the history of the team. And it's a privilege to be able to introduce Paul Dehner Jr. Paul, welcome back.
Wow. Respected in the history of the team. That is bold. I don't know that I can live up to that.
I did not say you were James Rapine. I said one.
Or Jay Morrison, or Jay. I don't know.
We wouldn't be talking about respect, right? No. Love James, of course. It's great. Thank you very much for that. It's awesome to be back here. It's been a minute.
So everybody, as you're watching right now on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, type as many questions as you can. We'll try to get to a handful of them for Paul. We don't want to keep Paul very long tonight. But I'm going to tell a quick story. Our very first episode we did, April 2020, we had no idea what the hell we were doing. We invited a bunch of guests on. We had a bunch of former players. It was draft night, if you remember, when Burrow was getting drafted in Las Vegas. And we couldn't get out to the draft. So we said, what are we going to do? Well, we're going to do a virtual draft party. Well, we had Paul on later in the show that night, and we had fans dialing in from all over the world. We had a really good friend of ours from Scotland, if Scotland, or I think Dublin. I think it was Scotland. Dials in, and he was just absolutely hammered. Paul had dialed into the waiting room, and he could watch that part of it. You could just see his face. He's like, what the hell did I just get myself? But again, 4 years later, we're still here, Paul. We didn't get shut off that night, but I'll never forget that night because I remember seeing your face. You're like, holy shit, why did I dial?
Proof that you can't shut anything off on the internet. Like, it's just, it doesn't even matter. You can do anything you want to anymore. It's great. You guys have done such an awesome job. It's been so fun to follow you guys as you've kind of done more and more with this. And now I'm just following your guys' footsteps at this point, man. You guys are crushing it. I was going to say, we were in Dallas, obviously, this past weekend. And I felt like I was actually at a Bengal gym tailgate on my flight home today. I mean, it was like every single person there, I think, was in orange and black and Houdain and all that stuff. And it was nuts. And on top of that, I think I talked to I don't know how many people it was, but I think everybody must have been at your event in Dallas. I mean, it seemed like you had another massive crew there, man. These like road get-togethers have just turned into like nothing else. It's unbelievable.
It's a lot of fun, man. Just seeing all these Bengal fans from all over the country get together and have fun together outside of Cincinnati. It's been fun, Paul. Been good. Let's get rolling. So, Tom, go ahead and kick us in again. Remember, as you're watching right now, any questions you want, type them in. We'll try to get to them as fast as we can for you.
Paul, while Coach Taylor is still, worried about the next game, we're not giving up. That's fine and good, but looking a little bit to the future, just to do what I do, which is to make all our viewers angry at me, as we're looking forward to next year, and probably with the exception of a few guys, stripping the defense right down to the studs and rebuilding it. To me, the first resource that needs to be attacked this offseason is the same ones that need to be attacked the last 6 or 7 years. Ownership has spent high draft choices, first and second round picks on the offensive line. They have opened up the checkbook and brought in free agents for the offensive line. They have tried drafting mid-rounders and developing them, and still Joe Burrow gets hit.
Mm-hmm.
He gets hit. He gets harassed. He gets hit hard. He's tough, but eventually, hey, he's got some Randall Cunningham and France Arkington in him. But eventually, somebody catches you. Do you think the organization, I mean, and there are the rumblings, it's Carson Palmer syndromes. Do you think that's going to be number one this offseason? Let's fix those guard positions. Let's get some depth at tackle.
But the problem is there's so many spots they need to fix. It's like it's yes, I think you would think that. Like in a normal year, you're always thinking about the offensive line here, and you're always thinking about better pass protectors. And it has, I think it's done a nice job. You feel like Mims and Brown have like given them something they haven't had in forever. It's like two solid bookends on the outside, but now you're seeing all the problems with the guard position. Ted Karras has got an extension for one more year, and he's been okay. He's been fine, but he's getting older as well. They're back to where they kind of were a few years ago, where they've got to aggressively attack the middle of that offensive line. And that's great to do. But I mean, I don't know how the top priority isn't just everything you got at this defense at this point. I mean, that's the hard part. And you never want to say, don't put protecting Burrow first. I think you're still putting him first. They're going to have a lot of money to do a lot of things. I mean, I think that they might end up over $100 million in cap room before it's all said and done. When you think of all the dead weight that they can cut off a lot of these contracts and stuff. So they'll have space to do stuff. And I think if you go back to the free agency period when they opened it up with Kappa and Karras right out of the jump, I wouldn't be stunned if they replicated that and there's a lot to happen between now and then, as one of the first things you see is some sort of just re-solidification of that middle, because Joe cares about that so much. He wants that middle part more than almost anything to keep it in so he can climb the pocket and work the pocket and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, I would say yes, but again, they need so much on defense that, I mean, they could be filling up almost every position on the defensive line as well between the draft and free agency with all new players. I mean, they need additions in the secondary. There's just so much that it's hard to prioritize any of it right now, other than to say they got to be better in the trenches, period. Both sides. And I feel like that's something that we've been saying since the first Bengals game I covered 15 years ago.
Yeah. Paul, staying on the offensive side, and it's great to have you back. Joe said something last night in the post game, whether it was on field interview or
did he ever
about bringing the thing that stood out to me was bringing T back.
Yeah,
I think obviously when we're talking about the offseason, give Jamar a blank check, let him fill it in, and that's one thing that'll be solved in free agency or coming up at the end of the year. Do you think there's any way at all, saying what you just said, of so many holes on both sides of the lines, and especially on defense, that T wears a Bengals uniform next year?
I would have said I don't see it, but T said it last night. I mean, shoot, if Joe says it, then it's possible. I mean, Joe says it's possible, then it must be possible. And he sounded like a guy that had something up his sleeve last night. I mean, that was he can't be more obvious than that. I mean, where he's sitting there saying, look, I'm confident that I can do what it takes and T can do what it takes to make this work. We've talked about it. I mean, there's no reason for him to go out there and lie or just say some stuff like that in a press conference. And as you guys know, Joe doesn't just say things without thinking about them first. I was as surprised as any to hear him say that, but it certainly suggested that they might have a plan there. And maybe things have changed. An interesting thing is, I think if you would have asked anybody, and I think the Bengals plan for a while has probably been that you can move on from T and use that money to help spread it across the defense and help the other side and keep developing, other receivers. But man, they don't have a lot of guys that you feel like that they're going to extend in the next few years, because you've just seen kind of a fall off in the regression on a lot of the younger players on the defensive side that you thought might be rising into being those cornerstones that Joe kind of talked about that they're looking for. Well, when you don't know who you're going to pay, you don't have enough good players. Are you really going to let another one walk out the door? And it's like, if you just need more good players, maybe that changes the situation that they're in with T entering this offseason. And certainly if Burrow is willing. The line that I liked was Jamar saying, well, yeah, you can do it. It's possible. You got to play chess. Well, in chess, the king's got to make a move here because Burrow's got to restructure. Like that's probably part of this is something with his guaranteed money or something with his contract has to change in order to find a way to fit everything that Chase is going to get and what T is going to demand on the open market. Because, I mean, you could argue he's the number one free agent that's going to be available in March. And you know what that means? Those guys always get way overpaid, even what you think their value is. So that is a challenging task to do no matter what. And you can argue whether it's worth it to do that when you consider all the rest of the holes they have to fill, even though they have a lot of money. It's one fascinating offseason in front of them. I mean, it's a blank slate in a lot of ways because there's just so many different things they need to do and so many ways that they can go.
Yeah, so I'm kind of shocked we're starting off with the offense. I got one more offense thing. I want to dig in a little bit more detail on the defense and get your take on a few things. But I just want you to talk openly about. We had a short text string earlier today, Paul, and talking about Joe and Jamar. I mean, this is freaking amazing what these two are doing. Talk about it. Just give us your thoughts on those. Not contracts, not anything like that, but what they're doing on the field this year is unbelievable.
You know what's great is even in a year like this, I'm sure from a fan perspective, it's so frustrating to. I mean, the heartbreak has been diabolical at the end of these games. And I think the hardest part of it is you haven't felt like you've been able to enjoy what Jamar and Joe are doing. I really appreciate what they're doing during the games because you're frustrated by a loss afterwards, right? Well, if that's the bottom line, if this is as bad as it can get, is you just get high-end entertainment value just watching those two, even if they do lose games sometimes, and most years they won't playing like this. That's a great place to be because it's just electric, man. And what they have done this year, well, both of them, it's not just that they're good. They have been good. It's not just that they're amongst the best in the league. They have been amongst the best in the league. They've both gotten better. And the team has found better ways to use both of them. The way they've moved Chase around has changed everything. Because now teams just can't have a Chase plan, right? With Tomlin had that on Hard Knocks. You got to have the Jamar, you got to have the plan, right? The Joe Burrow plan, right? Teams got to have a Jamar Chase plan right now. And you can't just say, oh, we're going to cloud him. We're going to double bracket, whatever. Well, you can't because you have no idea where he's going to be when he comes out of that huddle. They have him everywhere. And that has made him so tough to cover. And they've been able to do things like just, target him 18 times like they did on Monday night. And it's just, he's so electric because he has so many ways he can beat you. He can beat you over the top. He can, if you want to do what Mike Zimmer did last night, and he just said, no, you aren't going to throw over the top. We're not going to let that happen. All they did was leave open the outside edges and those deep outside. Well, guess what? I saw the email today. It was Jamar caught the most yards on outbreaking routes of any receiver in the last 7 years. If that's what you're going to give him, he's going to take it. And then he took the last one to the house for the deep ball. It's like you have to leave something. You can't double every blade of grass. And it's so fun to see the different creative ways that they use him and that Jamar finds ways to make all these big plays. And then, Joe's growth, climbing the pocket and throwing in traffic and off platform jump passes now, like all of that stuff that he's added this year has taken both of their games to the next level. And that's not going to stop. They're not going to suddenly not be good at that stuff. So the two of these guys together are just, they're on another plane, man. I've never seen anything quite like it.
It's fun to watch. It is absolutely fun to watch. Tom?
Paul, we've had a couple of guests on, Joe Kelly, Eric Thomas, Joe Walter the last 3 weeks. And they all keep saying the same thing. We say, hey, Eric, what's wrong with the DBs? Joe, what do we need to look at on the offensive line? And they keep using the same term, technique. Yeah. Just a great fall down in technique. It isn't just that we have young, talented guys like a Cam Taylor-Britt who seemed on the cusp of going to the Pro Bowl this year. But so many guys seem to have regressed. Yeah. Is a large chunk of this coaching staff going to be is Black Monday going to see a lot of change in the coaching offices here?
I mean,
as a guess, if you had to guess.
I'm not going to guess. I'll give you an educated guess, I guess. I don't see a path for Lou to come back. And that is nothing against him as a head coach. Like, that he's been here 6 years. The last 2 years, he's had a very young group. He's had these 9 top 100 picks that they have tried to rebuild this defense around, knowing that they're paying the offensive side of the ball. And he's been tasked with developing those guys. And this isn't some other place where, the personnel staff drops these guys in the coach's lap and says, coach them up, right? These are his guys too. They're in the process. They pick the guys with them. They find the guys for their style. They know how to make it work. They've been doing this together for a while. And the coaches on that side have not been able to get the development out of all of the young core here that they need. And it feels like they need a new voice. I don't think Lou would be unemployed for all of 5 seconds, because I think that he can come in somewhere, and the way he can be a scheme game planning wizard and the mad scientist and all that stuff, he didn't forget how to do that. It's just, you need a new voice. Coordinators churn in this league, man. There's like nobody. You count them on one hand the amount of people that stick around for more than 2, 3, 4 years anywhere, in offensive or defensive coordinator. I mean, and this has been one of the longest runs there's been. It just feels like you can't have 2 years like this. You can't. You just can't. And especially when they're your guys. It was different in 2020 when they were still rebuilding. Like, they had 2 bad years, but they were still trying to find enough good winning players. These are your players. These are the players that you've been building around and picked and built this whole thing around. And so, to me, that's where it starts. And then from there, the defensive rebuild is, okay, whatever you go, for me, if you were going to go that direction, you'd want somebody who's a proven former head coach, defensive background, that can take the way they like to. Zach likes to let the defensive coordinator own and coach that side of the ball, be the head coach on that side. And there's a bunch of them out there. Dennis Allen, Robert Saleh, Matt Eberflus. There's a ton of them that are out there right now with defensive backgrounds. What do they want, right? When people always say, what are you going to do? How are you going to fix it? Well, I don't know. If that's the move they make, and it feels like that could be the direction they go, then it's going to be through the eyes of whatever they go with that next coordinator, theoretically. So that's where all the change happens. And you're going to be relying at some point, though, on that new voice to get through to your current young players. Like, inevitably, that's where the fix has to come from in a large part. Is you need some of those young guys, the Miles Murphys, the Cam Taylor-Britts, the DJ Turners, the Dax Hills, the Jordan Battles. I mean, there's so many of Chris Jenkins, McKinley Jackson. All of those guys got to develop. They've got to start to get more of them to grow in somebody's system. And that's where you can plug holes through free agency and add more picks. That's where it has to happen. And I think that's where you're going to start with your build inevitably.
Staying on the coaches, this is a question from Lisa. We appreciate everybody that's tuning in tonight. Certainly looking back at this year, some video game numbers for Joe and Jamar. Obviously, the one change, Callahan went to Nashville, leading them. Dan Pitcher, offensive coordinator, not necessarily calling plays. And one thing that a lot of the former players asked was, does Zach, concentrate on head coaching, pass off those play calling duties? So, two-ended question. How much of this credit, tying into what Lisa says, can be credited to Dan Pitcher? And are you of the mindset that, hey, Zach, lead this team, give up the play calling duties?
I think that's something for him to consider. I think Pitcher deserves a ton of credit. I mean, a lot of the stuff that they have tinkered with this year, most of the stuff is the same, but a lot of the tinkering they've done, a lot of the movement, a lot of the Jamar stuff, there's been certainly stuff that he's added, and they've searched for more explosiveness, and boy, they found that, right? I mean, they fixed that explosiveness on offense problem. I don't know. Like, I have a problem with wanting to change the play caller. I'm in the Jamar camp. I don't think anything on offense should change. Like, what's wrong with the offense, right? I watch that offense go, and I'm like, why do people want to call for the play caller to change when all this offense does is score points? And it's as good as it's ever been. I give full credit to Dan Pitcher for the impact that he's had and how quickly he's taken the reins. Like, that's awesome. But like, that's also, I mean, Zach is the one calling those plays, and they're just racking up points, and you have a Triple Crown winner and an MVP level quarterback play happening out here, and Chase Brown's turning into a star, and like all of that stuff's happening under his watch too. So I don't think that means that they should make a big change there and all of a sudden have a different voice. I think I think he legitimately, and I think it's thoughts that he's had and conversations he's had before when he reevaluates things in the offseason, decide is that a position is that where we're at as a team, where I'm so comfortable with pitch, or before with Callie, that I could turn it over to them and do that. Focus a little bit more on the game management, the team stuff, like what you see Sirianni do in Philly, and some coaches have done that. Most play calling head coaches keep that, and it stays. And if they do give it up, take it right back, not too much longer after that. That doesn't happen a lot. But if he felt like, look, the defense just needs so much more attention, or the game management needs so much more attention, or we're really missing other areas in a big way, which maybe that's the evaluation from this season. I don't know. They'll have those. I honestly think he would be open to it if he really felt like that's what would make the team better. He's never been somebody who's needed the credit or the respect or whatever that anybody wants to give him for that. I think he legitimately would do that if he felt like that was really the answer. I don't think that is, and I don't think that he'll end up there with their discussions, but I think he'll evaluate it like he will everything else whenever they make all of their, whatever the coaching staff looks like when they get things back together after kind of everything changes.
Yeah, Paul, I'll tell you, it's been obviously going into this season, we never expected the season or our defense to be playing this poorly, right? The missed tackles have been just astronomical. I just
never seen anything like that.
I don't know. It's been bad, but whoever is coaching this defense next year, that defensive coordinator, that staff, and Coach Taylor have some very tough calls to make. There's going to be guys that are big names on this team that have been big names for quite a few years that are likely not coming back. And I wrote down some names. I don't even like reading these names off because these guys are just near and dear to our hearts as Bengal fans. But we got guys that haven't been playing great at all, like the Von Bells of the world, the Sam Hubbards of the world. It goes on and on, right? But I mean, there's going to be a lot of changes on defense, Paul. And what would be a name or two you think that you wouldn't be surprised if they didn't come back in 2025?
Well, I'll give you a list. I mean, I'm on over the cap like you guys probably are here, and I'll just got my 2025 open. We've all done this, right? I mean, you have to at this point. When you start thinking about, okay, where is the money coming from to fix this thing? Well, when you have players, and it's pretty easy. I don't even need names anymore because I've covered this team long enough. I just need to see the balance sheet and know their production levels, and know if you see somebody with $2 million or less in dead money and a big cap savings, and they aren't doing it anymore, especially if they're older, they're not surviving, right? Like that's the nature of the business. So yeah, I mean, Sheldon Rankins, Hubbard, I don't know that Kappa's going to be back. Pratt, Geno Stone. Let's keep going down the list. Those would be the ones where I would start, and that's probably your core group of decisions that you have there. And then you get into the more creative ones. Okay. The question that I have is, if you need a lot, right? And we're all in agreement they need a lot, right? I mean, and so if you need a lot, you need to find something that you have value. And this came up in the trade Jamar Chase conversation, and I vehemently disagree with that concept. But I think the logic at the base of it isn't wrong. And you need to figure out where you have value that you can get more for one piece, and that's Trey Hendrickson, right? I mean, he is as valuable a piece as anybody would want. He has 1 year left on his contract. He's in his 30s now. He's obviously wasn't happy about his contract last year. I bet he's not going to be happy about it again this year after this season. Is it time? I think that's a question they're going to have to answer. You just say, we're back with Trey, and Trey's going to play out that last year of his contract because we told him to, and we're going to deal with whatever comes with that? Or do you try to flip him for a premium draft pick or two, plus save the money, so then you get 2 picks plus room to spend on and sprinkle that across multiple places? You're giving up your best defense, your only good defensive player, and that's a frightening thing to do when you're talking. But you're talking 1 year left on a contract on a guy who's getting older. and something you have value with, I think it's something you have to be considering at this point. I'm not saying I would even do it or that they're going to do it, but I think when you're thinking about the massive nature of how all these things that they feel like they need to fix, that would be a way that they could certainly hit fast forward on trying to get some stuff done.
Along those lines, and we touched on it earlier, how many misses we've had in the draft, and I can certainly probably be swayed of Trade and Trey saying, hey, you're going to get this high one, you're going to maybe get a 2-2, but knowing how many we've missed, and this is something we haven't touched on tonight, Paul. Duke Tobin safe? Do we see any changes in that department?
No, I don't. I mean, he's family at this point. I mean, I don't see that. I think that and I look forward to talking to Duke whenever we talk to him next about the idea of some form of expansion of his staff. And that's not, he's going to give you the line about, I don't need more voices. I just need the right voices. And that's what he said forever. And I'm sure he'll tell us that again. I feel like those voices need help. Not that they need help making decisions. They need help with the everyday work. You're asking these guys to be a lot. Mike Potts, Steven Radicevic, Trey Brown, Christian Sarkisian, their current staff. You're asking a lot of them. They need people underneath them doing the dirty work, grunt work. They need people to help them so that they can spend more time on making the big decisions and making sure that their opinions are right in the room. I think that's very fair to ask. And that's what I've always thought. I've never bought into that their staff sheet, personnel sheet needs to look like the Ravens or the Browns or one of these places. And they really do feel like the value in everybody being here and knowing everybody and involving the coaching staff is part of what has made them have success in the past. I'll buy it enough. Those people, that doesn't change the fact that I think those people could use an alleviation of all you're asking them to do all the time. Like, I think they could use a little bit of an assist. I'm not asking you to put more voices in the decision-making room. I would be interested if they'd be willing to put more voices into helping them. That then could be the change that you would see. Duke's going nowhere, right? I mean, it's fun. People can say I see no world where that's happening. They just built a roster that was the envy of the league 2 years ago and went to places this franchise has never gone. When you talk about a Super Bowl and 10 straight wins and back-to-back AFC title games, like that wasn't that long ago, that a place where they think the absolute world of Duke and think of them as family Mike Brown is suddenly going to turn his back on that. No way. So that's not a realistic thing. But I do think that there should be real discussions about adding to his staff in calculated ways that could really help them.
Paul, I understand exactly what you're saying there, and I know how the family, the Browns and Blackbirds, value Duke and what Duke feels about them. And hey, he's had some outstanding drafts and some incredible free agent classes, and he's gone through some slumps as well.
Yeah,
that we're kind of enduring.
You're in one, yeah.
But with that, this franchise for the last probably since you started covering the team, they've got a nasty habit of letting go of guys and not having anybody to succeed him. I remember, right when you came, TJ Hushmanzada walked. It took 4 years to replace him. And that was an accident, a fifth rounder in Marvin Jones. That was a bit of an accident. But they're still trying to replace Kevin Zeitler, and he's still in the league and wanted to come back.
Yeah.
It's, to lose DJ, and I know Sheldon Rankins had one hell of a game last year against us, but I think Sheldon Rankins was going to be DJ this year. And I hope he feels better. I know he was very seriously ill, but no, everybody knew that from the get-go. We were all terrified teams were going to be able to run the ball down our throats, especially in this division. It's been, a miss after miss there. And sometimes they're trying to replace a circle with a square peg.
Yeah. I mean, they have it. It's like we've done this, Jesse Bates, DJ Reader, different positions. And you're like, are you about to do this again with T. Higgins? Or just say, we'll just bring in somebody behind him, Witt, even back to him. So it sounds great to have a plan and replace them with a top pick or the next guy, but it's hard to find the next guy. and you can't always find the next guy. And sometimes when you have the guy, you need to just pay the guy. And there's certainly issues to be had with a lot of the ways that a lot of those guys have been handled. I think Reeder in particular, I think they undervalued him in his impact in the locker room, which I felt like was they kind of yanked out the soul of the defense when they let him walk. And it's easy to point to his injury and his age and the money that it would have cost. But, you see the impact that he had on everyday execution and accountability in that room this year. You feel that in that defense. They feel lost. They feel like they're without their dad, right? Like they just feel like they need their disciplinarian dad. That was DJ Reeder. Like he kept everybody in line, and they're really missing that. And so you do that, and that eventually it erodes and erodes and erodes, and you end up with a season kind of like this. It is hard to say that what you let them go. You have to rebuild the next generation of those guys. That's the NFL. You got to take these picks and you got to turn them into the next foundational pieces. That I wrote this at the end of last year, and I took some heat for it, saying that this is going to be a thing where the young players on this team, they are not good enough. They do not have enough leaders. They needed the young players to become the next future group and understand that you can't hold on to the old one. And that unfortunately proved to be true when all of those guys so much at the soul and heart of the team left, and these young players didn't become that next part that, you have to have. And there's still plenty of time for that to happen. They're all young players, man. There's plenty of time for these guys to come along. They're not there yet. And there's going to be a lot of change happening. So a lot of people will maybe a kick in the butt and a new voice and a shorter leash on a ton of people will get more out of them. Maybe that's something that will happen. I don't know, but I don't expect very much to look the same on that defense next year. That's for sure.
Well, Paul, man, look, man, it means a lot you being with us tonight. Tons of viewers watching tonight. Over the next 3 to 5 days, there'll be triple that amount that will watch this show in a rerun. But let everybody know where they can find you. But I don't know how they don't know you, but let's at least know where they can find you.
Well, it changes. My podcast has changed many times. Maybe last time I was on, I'm sure I was under the Athletics purview, but I have my independent pod now, the Growler Network. Basically, at this point now, we have a bunch of different shows that we do. So you can just on YouTube, just go to the Growler podcast. We do live shows down at BetMGM Nation Kitchen and Bar down there on game days. Our next one is on the 20 before the Browns game down there at 10 o'clock. Pop your head in, have a $3 Cincy Light and hang out with us for a second before you head down to Jim's Tailgate. And then, we always love to see you down there. We're giving stuff away all the time. And then obviously I'm still at The Athletic, so you can always subscribe and read The Athletic. I have a big story that will be out tomorrow morning on the relationship between Brian Callahan and the Bengals. I've been working on this one for a long time, and sort of how that evolved over time and throughout this season, and how they've lifted each other up through some tough seasons this year. And it was great catching up with Callie and Zach and so many people on the Tennessee side of TB, Cheeto. I talked to a ton of people down there, Bill Callahan, all about from the hire to where they've ended up right now to facing each other again, everything that's happened behind the scenes, and it's been wild. So I spent a ton of time in that story. That'll be up tomorrow on The Athletic. You can go read that there. So make sure you check out that there with all the rest of my work.
Yeah, everybody check it out. I'm looking forward for this story to come out. I knew he was kind of working on this one, so I'm looking forward to that one too, Paul. Tell the family we said hey, and we appreciate you, buddy. Thanks for taking time with us.
Will do. Thank you, guys. So great to see you. Have a good one.
Great night.
Bye. He's awesome, man. I love him, man. He's one of my favorite followers on Twitter for sure, man. So some very good stuff from Paul tonight, guys.
As always, it's been as he mentioned, been a while since he's been on, and we had the run of former players, which certainly have great insight, but having one of the beat writers there that's close to the team is great. And one of the OGs from the original broadcast 4 years ago when we were all locked up during COVID, listened to drunk Europeans come on the show. But here he is, and we appreciate his time for joining us here tonight. Look forward to that article in The Athletic tomorrow.
Okay, let's go ahead and close this out. But before we start going through our close here, guys,
Just the picture
James,
that you have in the thing,
Nope.
just leave it in there.
Nope, got to put it up. Who did it better? Selleck? James Selleck? That's
gosh.
James Selleck.
Oh my gosh.
That's courtesy of Craig, by the way.
I was going to say Craig has too much time on his hands. Tom, you just going to stay silent on this?
I'm still. I look at you and I expect to see Ben Stiller. Like I said, from the Water Boy. I know you're not a movie guy, but go watch it sometime and look it up.
Crypt Keeper in comments tonight has been relentless. So appreciate you get the fan of the night, man. Oh man, he wants to know if the stash can coach the defense. I think he said my stash has Wi-Fi. I don't know what else stash can block Burrow's blind side. He's got them all in the chat tonight. So
give the stash a jersey. Put them in. Jeez.
Oh, goodness.
Well, let's go ahead and close this out tonight. Fun night tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed this. But Tom, go and kick us off in the close, bud.
Again, thank you to everybody for tuning in. There's so many ways you can keep up with our favorite team, and it means a lot that you'd spend some time with us on a Tuesday night, especially during the Christmas season, to talk a little football and listen to Paul Dehner Jr. He was fantastic. So earlier today, I heard Chase Brown talk about, every game is a season now. So next season, everything is on the line this Sunday in Nashville. So we can go down there. I think if Nashville plays their best game and the Bengals stay healthy and play their best game, we win, and we live to fight another week after that. So good luck. Be safe going down there, and we will see everybody next Tuesday night. James?
Thank you, Tom. In the chat there, once again, is the link for Nashville. By far our favorite city in the country. The football is just like icing on the cake. So much fun. We getting text all night. People that are going. One was about game tickets. I know I don't have mine yet, Jimmy. I don't know if you've purchased yours yet.
Actually, James, I need somebody to sit with, man. So let's go. Let's get this. We can grab some tickets. I know Tony already has his. A couple of him and Carrie, and I know I think Brandon and Hannah are sitting together. But I need to sit with somebody, James.
The same spot. Don't have tickets, but. Feel free to join us. Stay tuned to social media. We'll let you know what's happening Friday night, let you know what's happening Saturday night. And as always, we appreciate you joining us. Remember, the final 2 home tailgates, we'll be doing more Toys for Tots. We appreciate Tony's hard work on that. And if you have friends or family that missed the show tonight, remind them they can always go back to YouTube. A lot of great comments there from Paul Dehner. So if you missed it, feel free to share that on your social media channel. Jimmy?
Yeah, guys, just kind of ditto a lot of repeat there with James just said. Dallas was amazing time, guys. Even if the Bengals would have lost, we still had a good time. But that win just kind of capped the whole few days down there. Don't forget Nashville. If you're going to go, grab those tickets quickly. It has been a massive spike in sales the last couple of days. So make sure you grab those tickets. I'm pretty excited about the Bengal boys' performance down there. They are very jacked about it as well. So we'll see you guys down in Nashville. Just make sure you grab those. And guys, we appreciate you, man. I just want to remind everybody, Lisa, if the Bengals make the playoffs, Lisa's gone from a 1.7% chance now to 3%. I think it might be higher. It might be 5%. But Lisa, if the Bengals make the playoffs, we're going to have to do something special for Lisa, buy her something, because she has kept the hope alive. When the flame is pretty much out, she's keeping it alive. I might have ate some nachos. I ate Brandon's nachos with chopsticks, but that's another story. Brandon was babysitting me that day for a couple hours at least. So, but guys, we appreciate you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for joining us. It means a lot. We'll see you next Tuesday. Hoo day, everybody.
Good day.
Hoo day.